The conference hall floated in the darkness of space, a massive structure built by civilizations far older than humanity could imagine. Inside, 12 alien races gathered around a circular table made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. They were the Galactic Council, rulers of thousands of worlds across the galaxy. Today they discussed a small planet in a distant corner of space. A planet called Earth. Velcrath stood at the center of the room. His body resembled a giant insect, with 6 legs and 4 arms covered in dark armor plating. His multiple eyes scanned the holographic display floating before the council. The display showed Earth, spinning slowly, its blue oceans and green continents clearly visible. Small dots represented human cities, connected by lines of light that marked their primitive communication networks. This species has been broadcasting radio signals for nearly 100 years, Velcrath said, his voice creating clicking sounds that the translation devices converted into words. They call themselves humans. Our scouts have studied their history, their wars, their weapons. They are violent, divided, and technologically inferior. They possess nuclear weapons but have never achieved faster-than-light travel. They are a threat to themselves and potentially to others. Ambassador Zarthun of the Karathi Empire leaned forward. His species resembled tall, thin reptiles with golden scales and eyes that burned like small suns. "What do you propose, strategist?" "Immediate subjugation," Velcrath responded without hesitation. "We send a fleet to demonstrate our superiority. The humans will have no choice but to surrender. We strip them of their weapons, place them under council authority, and prevent them from spreading their violence across the stars. It is what we have done with 17 other dangerous species. It is what we must do with humans." The council members spoke among themselves in various alien languages. Some nodded in agreement. Others seemed uncertain. Finally, the council leader, an ancient being whose species had explored space when Earth was still covered in ice, raised one of its many tentacles. "The vote is decided. We will send a fleet to Earth. Ambassador Zarthun, you will deliver our terms. Velcrath, you will command 20 warships. That should be more than sufficient for a species that has not even left its own solar system." Far from the council chamber, Commander Jake Morris floated in the observation deck of the Horizon, Earth's newest exploration vessel. He watched stars drift past the window, his coffee floating in a sealed container next to him. The Horizon was not a warship. It carried scientific equipment, communication arrays, and a crew of 60 people whose job was to search for signs of intelligent life in nearby star systems. Jake's radio crackled to life. "Commander, we're picking up something strange. Unknown energy signature approaching from deep space." Jake pushed himself toward the bridge, his body moving smoothly in zero gravity after years of practice. "What kind of signature?" "Big, sir. Multiple sources. They're slowing down, like they're planning to stop here." Within minutes, Jake stood on the bridge staring at the main display screen. 20 massive shapes appeared in space, each one larger than any human ship ever built. They looked like nothing Earth had ever designed. Curved hulls covered in strange symbols, weapons ports that glowed with purple energy, and engines that seemed to bend space itself around them. A transmission came through on every frequency at once. The face that appeared on screen made several crew members gasp. Zarthun's reptilian features filled the display, his burning eyes seeming to look directly at each person on the bridge. "Humans of Earth," the alien said, his voice smooth but cold. "I am Ambassador Zarthun of the Galactic Council. Your species has been observed. You are violent, dangerous, and unfit to govern yourselves. The Council has decided your fate. You have 30 days to surrender all military weapons, dismantle your governments, and accept Council authority. If you refuse, we will take your world by force. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent. Jake looked at his crew, seeing fear and anger on their faces. "Get me a secure channel to Earth Command now." On Earth, in a facility buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Director Adam Cole received the message. He sat in a chair surrounded by screens showing data from across the planet and beyond. He was a man in his 60s with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many wars. Around him, military officers and government officials spoke in urgent voices, some calling for immediate surrender, others demanding they fight. Adam raised his hand and the room fell silent. He had been waiting for this moment for 30 years. Since he was a young officer, Earth's governments had suspected they were not alone in the universe. They had prepared. They had built. They had hidden their true strength from any eyes that might be watching from above. "Activate Protocol Nightfall," Adam said calmly. A technician's hands shook as she entered the codes. "Sir, are you sure?" "Once we activate, there's no going back." "They've given us 30 days, Adam replied. "They think that's generous. They think we'll spend that time panicking, fighting among ourselves, debating surrender. They don't know humans very well." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Send the signal." Deep in space, beyond the orbit of Neptune, a facility that looked like an ordinary ice asteroid received the encrypted transmission. Inside, lights flickered on for the first time in years. Hundreds of people who had been waiting in cold sleep for this exact moment began to wake up. Commander Ryan Bennett opened his eyes and immediately checked the status displays next to his pod. The Titan Forge was coming online. The shipyard began to hum with power. On Ganymede, Jupiter's largest moon, Dr. Helen Price was already awake when the signal arrived. She had been running final tests on her life's work. The quantum displacement drive sat before her, a sphere of metal and crystal that would change space warfare forever. She activated her communication panel and spoke directly to Adam Cole. "We're ready. The fleet can deploy within 48 hours. Back on Earth, Captain Lisa Grant watched from the orbital defense station Aurora as more alien ships took up positions around the planet. The aliens moved slowly, confidently, like predators who knew their prey had nowhere to run. She counted their ships, noted their positions, and sent the data to Earth Command. 20 ships. The aliens probably thought that was overwhelming force. Lisa had seen the classified reports. She knew what was hiding in the asteroid belt, on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, in facilities scattered across the solar system. 20 alien ships seemed like a lot until you compared it to what humanity had built in secret over 5 decades. Her second officer approached. "Captain, shouldn't we be evacuating? Those ships could destroy the station in seconds." Lisa shook her head. "We stay. We watch. We wait. The aliens think they know everything about us because they've been spying on Earth. But they only saw what we let them see. They studied our wars, our conflicts, our divisions. They think those things make us weak." She looked at the young officer and smiled. "They're about to learn that our conflicts made us strong. Every war taught us something new. Every battle made us better at fighting. And now we're going to teach the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity." In orbit, the alien fleet settled into position. On their ships, crews relaxed. This would be easy. The humans would surrender. They always did when faced with superior force. Vellicrath reviewed his tactical plans one final time, already thinking about his next assignment. This operation would be over in days, maybe hours. None of them noticed the small energy signatures beginning to appear throughout the solar system. None of them detected the encrypted communications bouncing between hidden facilities. None of them realized that every hour they waited, every moment they spent in confident certainty of victory, humanity was moving its pieces into position. The trap was being set. And the aliens had walked right into it. The alien surveillance teams positioned their satellites around Earth, scanning cities and military bases with technology that could detect heat signatures from space. They watched major capitals like Washington, Moscow, Beijing, and London. They expected panic. They expected chaos. Instead, what they observed confused them. People went to work. Children attended schools. Governments issued statements calling for calm and unity. The streets remained orderly. No riots broke out. No military convoys rushed through cities. It seemed almost as if the humans did not understand the gravity of their situation. The aliens reported this strange calm to Velcrath, who interpreted it as shock and denial. He had seen this before with other species. Soon reality would set in and the humans would beg for mercy. But the aliens were watching the wrong places. Thousands of miles from Earth, hidden among millions of tumbling rocks in the asteroid belt, the Titan Forge had been waiting in darkness for decades. From the outside, it looked like 3 large asteroids clustered together, their surfaces pockmarked and lifeless like any other space rocks. But inside, an entire city existed. A city built for one purpose: constructing warships. Colonel Ryan Bennett stood in the command center, looking through thick windows at the construction bays below. The vast space stretched for miles in every direction. Hundreds of ships hung in various stages of completion, held in place by magnetic clamps and surrounded by scaffolding. Some were as small as fighter craft, sleek and deadly. Others were massive carriers that could hold 1,000 people and launch squadrons of smaller vessels. All of them had been built in secret, using materials mined from asteroids, assembled by workers who lived their entire lives in space. "All crews report ready," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, a young woman with short dark hair and sharp green eyes. She had been born on the Titan Forge, one of hundreds of children raised in the asteroid belt facility. For her, space was home. Earth was just a beautiful blue dot in the distance that her parents had told her stories about. Ryan nodded. "Begin final preparations. I want every ship fueled, armed, and ready to launch within 24 hours. The Admiral will give the order soon." "Yes, sir," Amy replied. She had waited her whole life for this moment. Her parents had worked on these ships. Her teachers had trained her to pilot them. Every person on the Titan Forge knew that one day, Earth might need them. That day had arrived. On Ganymede, the largest moon of Jupiter, another secret facility buzzed with activity. Dr. Helen Price moved through her laboratory, checking readouts and running final tests. She was a woman in her 40s with tired eyes that revealed too many sleepless nights spent solving impossible problems. Before her sat the quantum displacement drive, the device that would make humanity's fleet unstoppable. Her assistant, a young engineer named Carl, watched the numbers scrolling across his screen. "The test results are perfect. The drive can create a stable quantum tunnel for exactly 3 seconds, allowing a ship to jump up to 50,000 kilometers instantly. That's enough to appear behind enemy lines, fire weapons, and jump away before they can respond." Helen allowed herself a small smile. She had spent 15 years developing this technology, working from theoretical physics that most scientists said was impossible. The Galactic Council's species had faster-than-light drives for traveling between stars, but they had never developed short-range tactical jumping. They would have no defense against it. "How many ships have been fitted with the drives?" Helen asked. "All 300 capital ships and 2,000 fighter craft," Carl replied. "We've been installing them for 5 years, and every pilot has trained in simulators. They're ready." Helen touched the smooth surface of the drive prototype. It hummed under her fingers, barely warm despite the incredible power it contained. "Good. Because we're going to show the galaxy something they've never seen before." Elsewhere in the solar system, on Saturn's moon Titan, Admiral Kyle Martin reviewed tactical displays in his command ship, the Sovereign. The ship was the largest humanity had ever built, nearly 2 miles long, covered in armor plating that could withstand nuclear explosions. Its weapons included railguns that could fire projectiles at a significant fraction of the speed of light, plasma torpedoes that burned hotter than the sun, and defensive shields generated by the same technology that powered the quantum drives. Kyle was a career military officer who had spent 40 years preparing for a war that might never come. Now it had arrived, and he felt a strange mixture of dread and relief. Dread because war meant death, suffering, and loss. Relief because finally, after decades of preparation, humanity would prove it was not prey. "Status report," Kyle ordered. His second-in-command, a tall woman named Karen Hughes, pulled up data on her screen. "All fleet elements are in position and awaiting orders. The Titan Forge reports 300 ships ready for deployment. Fighter squadrons are at full strength. Ground forces are standing by. Earth's orbital defenses are armed. We have eyes on all 20 alien vessels. And they have no idea we exist," Kyle said quietly. "They're watching Earth, counting our surface ships, analyzing our public military bases. They see exactly what we want them to see. A species that barely has a space program, with chemical rockets and primitive satellites." He turned to Karen. "How long until we're ready to execute the attack plan?" 48 hours, sir. "Less if you need it," Kyle shook his head. "No, we wait. Let them get comfortable. Let them believe their own intelligence reports. The longer they wait in orbit thinking they've already won, the more devastating our surprise will be." Back on Earth, normal life continued, but beneath the surface, preparations moved forward at incredible speed. Military units that did not appear on any public record mobilized from underground bases. Weapon systems hidden inside ordinary-looking buildings powered up for the first time in years. Civilian infrastructure that seemed innocent revealed its true purpose. In Nevada, what tourists thought was a solar power farm was actually a massive directed energy weapon capable of targeting objects in orbit. In Norway, a hydroelectric dam concealed a communications hub that connected every hidden facility in the solar system. In Australia, a mining operation served as the entrance to a bunker complex that could house 10,000 people and coordinate planetary defense. Captain Nick Harper gathered his pilots in a briefing room aboard the carrier. Defiance, currently hidden in the shadow of one of Saturn's outer rings. His squadron consisted of 50 of humanity's best fighter pilots, men and women who had trained for years in secret. They knew every maneuver, every tactic, every weakness in alien ship designs that Earth's spies had managed to discover. "Listen up," Nick said, his voice firm but calm. "In less than 2 days, we're going to jump into combat against an enemy that has been traveling the stars for thousands of years. They have better shields than us. Their ships are bigger. Their weapons have longer range. On paper, we should lose badly." The pilots shifted nervously. A few exchanged worried glances. Nick let the tension build for a moment, then smiled. "But here's what they don't have. They don't have quantum drives that let us jump around the battlefield like ghosts. They don't have railguns that punch through energy shields, because the projectiles are moving too fast for the shields to deflect. They don't have pilots who have studied every single battle they've ever fought, learning from their tactics, finding their patterns." He pointed at each pilot in turn. "You are the most dangerous people in this solar system. You're going to hit them so hard, so fast, from so many directions at once. They won't know what's happening until it's over." Lieutenant Amy Foster, who had transferred from the Titan Forge to join the Fighter Corps, raised her hand. "Sir, what if they're better than we think? What if our intelligence is wrong?" Nick met her eyes. "Then we adapt. That's what humans do better than anyone. We adapt, we overcome, and we survive. Our species has faced extinction a dozen times in our history. Ice ages, plagues, wars that nearly destroyed us. We're still here. Those aliens think they know us because they watched our wars, but those wars taught us how to fight. Every conflict made us stronger, smarter, more dangerous." He looked around the room at the young faces watching him. "In 2 days, the galaxy is going to learn what humanity is really capable of, and nothing will ever be the same again." Across the solar system, similar speeches happened in 100 different locations. Crews prepared ships. Engineers ran final checks on weapon systems. Soldiers loaded ammunition and sharpened blades. Scientists reviewed data one more time, making sure every calculation was perfect. And everywhere, people who had lived their entire lives in secret, hidden from Earth and from the watching aliens above, got ready to reveal themselves. The Galactic Council's fleet remained in orbit around Earth, confident and patient. They had conquered so many worlds. This would be no different. They watched the primitive planet below and saw no threat. They had no idea that they were surrounded by 300 warships, thousands of fighters, and a species that had spent 50 years preparing for exactly this moment. The humans were ready. The trap was set. All that remained was to spring it. 20 days had passed since the aliens arrived. 10 days remained until their deadline. On the Karathi command ship hovering above Earth, Velkrath reviewed the daily intelligence reports with growing satisfaction. The humans still showed no signs of meaningful resistance. Their public broadcasts debated surrender terms. Their leaders made speeches calling for unity and patience. Their military forces remained at their bases, making no aggressive moves. "It is as I predicted," Velkrath told his staff officers. "The humans recognize they cannot win. They will surrender peacefully, and this operation will conclude without firing a single shot. Another species saved from their own violent nature." Ambassador Zarthun was not so certain. He stood in the observation deck of his diplomatic vessel, watching Earth turn slowly below. Something felt wrong. The planet was too calm, too organized. In his centuries of diplomatic service, he had observed many species facing subjugation. They usually showed fear, anger, desperation. The humans showed none of these things. They seemed almost like they were waiting for something. "Run another deep scan of the planet," Zarthun ordered his sensor operator. "Look for hidden facilities, underground bases, anything we might have missed." The sensor operator, a young Karathi female, worked her controls. "Sir, we've scanned Earth hundreds of times. Our sensors can detect energy signatures through solid rock. If they had secret bases, we would have found them." "Scan anyway," Zarthun insisted. While the aliens searched Earth's surface, they never thought to look deeper into the solar system. Their sensors were focused on the planet itself, on the moon, on the obvious orbital stations. They did not scan the asteroid belt carefully. They did not search the outer planets. Why would they? The humans barely had the technology to reach their own moon. The idea that they might have facilities beyond Mars seemed absurd. Far from Earth, hidden in the darkness beyond Saturn's orbit, Admiral Kyle Martin stood in the command center of the Sovereign. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in the human fleet. 300 warships arranged in attack formations, their quantum drives charged and ready. 2,000 fighter craft prepared to launch from carrier bays. Thousands of personnel checking weapons, running system tests, and waiting for the order to strike. All units report ready for combat operations, Karen Hughes announced. We can begin the attack at your command. Kyle studied the tactical display showing the alien fleet. The 20 enemy warships had arranged themselves in a standard defensive formation around Earth, equally spaced to provide overlapping fields of fire. It was a formation designed to defend against attacks from outside, from enemy ships approaching from deep space. It was perfect for what they expected. It was terrible for what was about to happen. Send the activation code to all units, Kyle ordered. Attack begins in 12 hours. Quantum jump coordinates are locked. Every ship knows its target. Remind all personnel that we strike hard, we strike fast, and we show no mercy until they surrender. This is for Earth, this is for humanity. This is to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten our home. The signal went out across the solar system, traveling on encrypted channels that the aliens could not detect or decode. In the asteroid belt, the Titan Forge made final preparations. Ships that had floated in construction bays for years were now armed and crewed. Colonel Ryan Bennett walked through the corridors, stopping to speak with nervous crews, offering encouragement, reminding them of their training. On Ganymede, Dr. Helen Price watched as the last transport ships departed, carrying personnel to their assigned vessels. She would remain behind during the battle, monitoring the quantum drives remotely, ready to make adjustments if any problems arose. Her life's work would be tested in combat within hours. She felt sick with worry and excitement. Captain Nick Harper sat in his fighter cockpit, running through pre-flight checks for the 100th time. Around him in the launch bay, 49 other pilots did the same. Their fighters were sleek black craft, barely larger than a car but packed with weapons and powered by engines that could accelerate them to incredible speeds. The quantum drive installed in each fighter would let them jump short distances, appearing and disappearing during combat like deadly phantoms. Lieutenant Amy Foster occupied the cockpit beside Nick's fighter. She was young, barely 25, but she had logged more flight hours in simulators than most pilots logged in real spacecraft. She had practiced the attack pattern so many times she could fly it in her sleep. But simulation was different from reality. Soon she would face real enemy ships, real weapons, real death. Nervous, Nick's voice came through her helmet radio. Terrified, Amy admitted. What if I mess up? What if I freeze? You won't, Nick replied with certainty. You know why? Because you've trained harder than anyone I've ever seen. Because you're not just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for everyone on Earth who doesn't even know we exist. You're fighting for your parents who built these ships. You're fighting to show the galaxy that humans don't surrender. Amy took a deep breath and felt her fear transform into determination. Ready when you are, Captain. On Earth, President Laura Hayes prepared to address the world. She stood in the Oval Office, makeup artists and camera crews arranging lights around her. In a few hours, she would deliver a speech that had been written 50 years ago, updated by every president since, waiting for this exact moment. A speech that would tell humanity the truth about what their governments had been building in secret for half a century. Director Adam Cole stood in his command center, watching countdown timers on multiple screens. 10 hours until the attack. He had spent 3 decades of his life preparing for this moment. He had lied to congressional committees, hidden billions in spending, recruited scientists and engineers into secret programs, all while maintaining the appearance that Earth's space program was small and primitive. The deception had worked perfectly. The aliens suspected nothing, but deception was just the first part. Now came the hard part. The fighting. Captain Lisa Grant watched from the Aurora orbital station as a small alien shuttle descended toward Earth. The aliens were establishing their occupation headquarters in New York City, preparing to receive Earth's surrender. They had chosen an abandoned warehouse district, which seemed symbolic to them. They would transform human industrial sites into alien administrative centers. What the aliens did not know was that the warehouse district had been evacuated and prepared. Every building around their chosen landing site contained hidden weapon emplacements, cameras, and sensor jammers. When the time came, Earth's special forces would surround the occupation team and capture them without firing a shot. The aliens would be hostages before they realized what was happening. Zarthun's shuttle landed gently on the concrete pad. He emerged with a team of 20 soldiers, all armed with energy weapons. They looked around at the empty buildings, the quiet streets, the gray sky. This planet seemed so ordinary, so unimpressive. How could such a primitive species be worth the Council's attention? "Begin establishing our base," Zarthun ordered. "Bring down the command equipment. Set up communications. In 10 days, this building will be the center of Council authority on Earth." His soldiers worked efficiently, unloading containers and setting up equipment. None of them noticed the cameras watching from darkened windows. None of them detected the soldiers hiding in buildings less than 100 yards away. None of them realized they were already surrounded. In orbit, Velkrath received reports from the surface team. Everything proceeded according to plan. He made a note in his log: Operation Earth Day 20, human resistance non-existent, occupation headquarters established. Expect full surrender in 10 days. Recommend reducing fleet presence after compliance is confirmed. He sent the report to the Galactic Council, already thinking about his next assignment, perhaps something more challenging. This had been disappointingly easy. 5 hours until the attack. Across the human fleet, crews ate final meals together. Some wrote letters to family they might never see again. Others prayed to various gods. A few slept, conserving energy for the battle ahead. Most simply waited, checking their weapons again and again, going over the battle plan in their minds. Admiral Kyle Martin recorded a message to be delivered to Earth if he did not survive. "To my family, to my fellow humans, to those who come after us. Today we fight not because we want war, but because we refuse to be slaves. Today we show the galaxy what humanity means. We are not the strongest species. We are not the oldest or the wisest, but we are the ones who never give up. We are the ones who adapt and overcome. We are the ones who turn our weaknesses into strengths and our defeats into lessons. Whatever happens in the next few hours, know that we fought for our freedom. And we fought well. 3 hours until the attack. On Earth, President Hayes began her broadcast. Every television, every radio, every internet screen showed her face. "My fellow humans," she began, "today I must tell you the truth about what your governments have been doing for the past 50 years. Today I must reveal the secret that has been kept from most of humanity. Today you will learn that we are not alone in the universe and we are not helpless." She explained about the alien fleet in orbit. She explained about the space around Earth exploded with light and energy as 300 human warships materialized from quantum jumps. One moment the alien fleet floated alone in orbit. The next moment they were surrounded by vessels that appeared from nowhere, emerging from ripples in space itself like sharks rising from dark water. Admiral Kyle Martin's voice cut through every communication channel in the solar system, broadcasting on frequencies the aliens used for military communications. "You wanted Earth's answer. Here it is." The Sovereign appeared directly above Velkrath's command ship, so close that crews on both vessels could see each other through windows. The massive human warship opened fire immediately with railguns that launched metal projectiles at impossible speeds. The shells punched through the alien ship's energy shields like they were not there. Shields designed to deflect energy weapons and slow missiles could not stop solid metal moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Velkrath's ship shuddered as projectiles tore through armor plating. Alarms screamed. Crew members scrambled to damage control stations. "Return fire," Velkrath shouted. "All ships engage the enemy!" But the human ships were already moving. Quantum drives activated again and the warships vanished, jumping short distances to new positions around the battlefield. The aliens fired their energy weapons at empty space where human ships had been milliseconds before. Before they could retarget, the humans reappeared behind them, firing again, then jumping away. Captain Nick Harper led his fighter squadron through the chaos. 50 fighters launched from the carrier Defiance, their quantum drives letting them jump directly into the battle space. All wings follow attack pattern Alpha. Hit the carriers first. Take out their fighter bays before they can launch. Lieutenant Amy Foster's fighter appeared next to a Karathi carrier, a massive ship 3 times the size of any human warship. But size did not matter when the enemy could not hit you. Her targeting computer locked onto the carrier's launch bay, the massive opening in the ship's side where alien fighters would deploy. She fired 2 plasma torpedoes and jumped away before the carrier's defensive guns could track her. The torpedoes struck true, detonating inside the launch bay with temperatures that exceeded the surface of the sun. The carrier's interior atmosphere ignited. Secondary explosions rippled through the ship as fuel lines ruptured and ammunition stores cooked off. Within 30 seconds, the carrier was drifting dead in space, flames venting from dozens of breaches in its hull. "Carrier 1 is down," Amy reported, her voice high with adrenaline and excitement. Moving to Carrier 2. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human ships appeared, fired, and vanished before the aliens could respond. The coordinated attack was devastating. Every human captain knew exactly where to appear, which target to hit, and when to jump away. They had practiced this battle 1,000 times in simulators. Now they executed it perfectly. Velcrath watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated around him. Ships that had served the Galactic Council for centuries exploded or went dark. His tactical display showed human vessels blinking in and out of existence, their quantum jumps creating patterns that his targeting computers could not predict. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "How are they jumping without faster-than-light engines?" His sensor operator worked frantically at her station. "Unknown technology, Commander. Their drives create small quantum tunnels, allowing instant relocation within 50,000 kilometers. Our shields cannot stop their weapons. Our targeting systems cannot lock onto ships that disappear." "Then fire at where they will appear," Velcrath shouted. "We cannot predict their jump coordinates," the operator replied helplessly. "They can appear anywhere within range." On the Sovereign, Admiral Kyle Martin watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The alien fleet was larger than his ships, more heavily armed, and had better shields. But none of that mattered when they could not hit their targets. All carriers began deploying ground assault teams. "Captain Grant, are you ready to secure the occupation headquarters?" Captain Lisa Grant's voice came back immediately. "Ready and waiting, Admiral." "Give the word. Execute capture operation. Take them alive if possible. We want prisoners to send back to the Council." On Earth in New York City, the alien occupation team heard the sounds of battle above. Zarthun rushed outside, looking up at the sky. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Streaks of light traced across the darkness. Explosions blossoming like deadly flowers. Ships appeared and vanished, weapons fire lighting up the night. The Galactic Council fleet was fighting for its life. "Get inside!" Zarthun shouted at his soldiers. "Prepare for ground assault. The humans are attacking, but it was already too late." Human soldiers appeared from the surrounding buildings, having waited patiently for this exact moment. They wore powered armor that made them look like machines, helmets covering their faces, weapons aimed with perfect precision. There were hundreds of them, surrounding the 20 alien soldiers completely. Captain Lisa Grant's voice echoed from loudspeakers. "Lay down your weapons. You are surrounded. Your fleet is defeated. Surrender and you will not be harmed. Resist and we will do what is necessary." Zarthun looked around at his soldiers, seeing fear in their eyes. They were diplomats and occupation troops, not frontline warriors. They had expected to face a defeated, surrendered species. Instead, they faced professional soldiers in advanced armor, outnumbered 10 to 1. "Lower your weapons," Zarthun ordered quietly. "We surrender." The human soldiers moved forward quickly, efficiently disarming the aliens and securing them with restraints. Within minutes, the entire occupation team was captured without a single shot fired. Transport vehicles appeared from underground garages, loading the prisoners for transfer to a detention facility. In orbit, the battle continued. Colonel Ryan Bennett commanded a specialized assault group of 5 ships designed for close combat. His team jumped directly onto a crippled Karathi destroyer, magnetic clamps locking their vessels to the alien hull. "Boarding teams, go!" Hatches blew open and human soldiers poured into the alien ship. They moved through corridors in tight formation, their weapons ready, their armor protecting them from the thin atmosphere and occasional weapon fire. The alien crew tried to resist, but they were not prepared for combat inside their own ship. Within 20 minutes, Bennett's team secured the bridge and captured the ship's captain. "Another one for the prisoners," Bennett reported to the Admiral. "This ship is ours." Lieutenant Amy Foster's fighter group targeted their 3rd carrier. The massive ship tried to maneuver away, its captain recognizing the danger too late. Amy's squadron appeared around it in perfect formation, firing from 6 different angles simultaneously. The carrier's shields, already weakened by previous hits, collapsed. Railgun rounds and plasma torpedoes struck armor plating, tearing it apart. The carrier began to break apart, its structure unable to handle the damage. "Jump out," Amy ordered. Carrier breaking up, Move to next target. Her squadron vanished just as the carrier exploded, its fusion reactors losing containment. The explosion lit up orbit like a second sun, visible from Earth's surface. People watching from below cheered as they realized their warriors were winning. Velkrath's command ship had taken catastrophic damage. Life support was failing. Most of his weapons were offline. His communications were down. Around him, his bridge crew worked desperately to keep the ship functional. Through the cracked windows, he could see human ships moving through the wreckage of his fleet like predators, finishing wounded prey. "How many ships do we have left?" Velkrath asked, his voice hollow. "4, Commander," his tactical officer replied. 4 ships still capable of fighting out of 20. We have lost 16 ships in less than 6 hours. This is not a battle. This is a slaughter. Velkrath stared at the tactical display, watching human ships hunt down his remaining vessels. He had commanded fleets for 200 years. He had conquered 17 worlds. He had never imagined defeat was possible. How could these primitives, these humans who barely had space travel, possess such technology, such tactics, such ferocity? "Send a message to the surviving ships," Velkrath ordered. "All vessels are to stand down. Cease fire. Surrender to the human forces. This battle is over." Admiral Kyle Martin received the surrender signal. "All human ships cease fire. I repeat, cease fire. Alien fleet is surrendering. Captain Harper, recall your fighters. Colonel Bennett, secure all surviving alien vessels. Take prisoners and prepare them for transport." The battle ended as suddenly as it had begun. 6 hours of intense combat. 16 alien ships destroyed, 4 captured, 0 human ships lost. A handful of fighters damaged, but all pilots recovered. It was the most one-sided space battle in human history. Kyle allowed himself a moment of relief before keying his communications. "Get me a channel to the Galactic Council. It's time they learned the truth about humanity." The transmission went out across the galaxy, traveling faster than light toward the council chambers. Kyle's face appeared on screens throughout the council station, his expression hard but controlled. "I am Admiral Kyle Martin of the United Earth Fleet. Your invasion force has been defeated. Your ships are destroyed or captured. Your occupation team is in our—" The council chambers erupted in chaos. 12 species shouted at each other in a dozen different languages, their translation devices struggling to keep up with the overlapping voices. Some demanded immediate retaliation against Earth. Others called for caution. A few sat in shocked silence, watching the battle recordings that human ships had transmitted along with Admiral Martin's message. The ancient council leader raised multiple tentacles, calling for silence. When the chamber finally quieted, the being spoke in a voice that sounded like wind through caves. "We must face reality. Our fleet was not defeated. It was destroyed. In 6 hours, these humans accomplished what should have been impossible. They possess technology we have never encountered. Their tactics are beyond our experience. If we attack again, we must commit our entire military forces, and even then, victory is not certain." A tall, crystalline being rose from its seat. "You suggest we accept this defeat? Allow a primitive species to humiliate the Council? I suggest we recognize that they are not primitive," the leader replied. "We made assumptions based on incomplete intelligence. We watched their planet and saw divided nations, conventional weapons, chemical rockets. We did not see what they built in secret. We did not understand that their conflicts trained them for war. We underestimated them completely." Ambassador Zarthun's transmission arrived from Earth, his voice heavy with shame. "Honored Council, I must report that my occupation team has been captured. The humans have treated us well, but we are prisoners. I have seen their technology firsthand. Their soldiers, their weapons, their organization. This species is not weak. They are perhaps the most dangerous beings we have encountered precisely because they have spent their entire history learning to fight." While the Council debated, human scout ships began appearing in their home systems. Not warships, just small, fast vessels equipped with advanced sensors and quantum drives. They appeared briefly, scanned major military installations and industrial centers, then vanished before local defenses could respond. The message was clear. Earth knew where the Council worlds were. Earth could reach them. Earth was watching. On Earth, celebrations erupted across every continent. People poured into streets, waving flags, shouting, crying with relief and joy. They had watched the battle from below, seeing light streak across the sky, knowing their secret warriors were fighting for humanity's freedom. Now they knew the fight was won. President Laura Hayes stood on the White House lawn before crowds of reporters and cameras broadcasting worldwide. Today, humanity proved something important. We proved that we will not be conquered. We proved that preparation and determination can overcome superior numbers. We proved that humans, when united, are unstoppable. She paused, letting the cheering subside. But we must also remember what we fought for. We did not fight for conquest or glory. We fought for freedom, for the right to determine our own future. And now we must be wise in victory. The galaxy is watching us. We must show them that humans can be trusted, that we seek peace, but we will always defend ourselves. Director Adam Cole watched the celebrations from his command center, feeling exhausted and relieved. 50 years of secrecy was over. The hidden facilities, the secret construction projects, the lies to congressional committees, all of it had been worth it. Earth was safe, humanity was free, and the galaxy knew better than to threaten them again. Admiral Kyle Martin stood on the bridge of the Sovereign as his fleet regrouped around Earth. Damaged ships headed for repair facilities. Captured alien vessels were being studied by engineers eager to learn from their technology. Prisoners were being treated according to military law, given food, medical care, and shelter while diplomats debated what to do with them. Admiral, we're receiving another transmission from the Galactic Council, Karen Hughes reported. Kyle straightened his uniform. Put it through. The ancient council leader appeared on the screen, its tentacles moving in patterns that the translation device interpreted as respectful gestures. Admiral Martin, the Galactic Council acknowledges the defeat of our fleet. We request negotiations to resolve this conflict peacefully. I'm listening, Kyle replied. We propose the following terms. First, an immediate ceasefire between Earth and all Council species. Second, the return of all prisoners on both sides. Third, the establishment of diplomatic relations between Earth and the Council. Fourth, recognition of human sovereignty and territorial rights within your solar system. Fifth, an invitation for Earth to join the Galactic Council as an independent member, with full voting rights and protection under Council law. Kyle kept his expression neutral, though internally he wanted to smile. The Council was offering everything Earth wanted. They had arrived planning to conquer, and now they were offering partnership. Those terms are acceptable. However, I have one additional requirement. Any Council species that wishes to enter human-controlled space must request permission in advance. We will not tolerate uninvited vessels near our worlds. Is that understood? Perfectly understood, Admiral, the leader replied. We will draft a formal treaty for your government to review. We look forward to peaceful relations with humanity. The transmission ended. Kyle turned to his crew, seeing tired smiles on their faces. We did it. We actually did it. Earth is safe and we're joining the galactic community on our terms. But even as diplomats began drafting treaties, military planners were already looking ahead. Colonel Ryan Bennett met with construction crews at the Titan Forge, discussing new ship designs that incorporated lessons from the battle. Dr. Helen Price returned to her laboratory, already working on improvements to the quantum drive technology. Captain Nick Harper trained new fighter pilots, sharing knowledge gained from real combat. Because humanity had learned another important lesson from this encounter. Peace was good. Diplomacy was necessary, but strength was what made both possible. The galaxy respected Earth now because Earth had proven it could defend itself. That respect had to be maintained. Commander Jake Morris piloted the Horizon toward the first official diplomatic meeting between Earth and the Galactic Council. His ship had been present at first contact when the aliens delivered their ultimatum. Now he would be present when Earth and the Council signed their treaty. Beside him flew 20 human warships, a small honor guard demonstrating Earth's power while also showing restraint. They could have sent 300. They sent 20. A subtle reminder that Earth could match the Council's original fleet any time it chose. The treaty signing took place at a neutral space station, halfway between Earth and the nearest Council world. President Hayes represented humanity, accompanied by Admiral Martin, Director Cole, and other key figures from the battle. The Council sent their highest-ranking ambassadors along with Zarthun, who had been returned to his people as a gesture of goodwill. The treaty was simple but comprehensive. Earth acknowledged the existence of the Galactic Council and agreed to follow basic laws that governed interactions between spacefaring species. The Council acknowledged Earth's sovereignty and independence, agreeing never to interfere in human affairs without invitation. Trade agreements were established. Cultural exchange programs were proposed. Defense pacts were discussed. "This is a new beginning," President Hayes said during the signing ceremony. "For thousands of years, humanity lived alone, thinking we were the only intelligent life in the universe. Now we know better. Now we join a community of civilizations that spans the galaxy. We come in peace, but we come as equals. We offer friendship to those who offer it to us. We offer cooperation to those who cooperate with us. But we also promise that we will never surrender our freedom or our dignity." The Galactic Council members listened carefully. They had learned to respect human words, knowing that humans meant what they said, and would fight to back up their promises. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal, though nothing would ever be quite the same. The secret facilities were no longer secret. The hidden warriors became public heroes. Children played with toys modeled after the Sovereign and other warships. Movies were made about the battle. Books analyzed the tactics and technology. Universities offered new courses in xenology and interstellar relations. Lieutenant Amy Foster returned to the Titan Forge, now promoted to captain and given command of her own fighter wing. She stood in the observation deck where she had grown up, watching new ships under construction. Larger ships, better ships. Ships designed for exploration as well as war. "What do you think comes next?" asked Carl, the young engineer who had worked with Dr. Helen Price. He had transferred to the Forge to help design the next generation of warships. Amy smiled, thinking about the future. "Everything. We explore the galaxy. We meet new species. We establish colonies on distant worlds. We learn. We grow. We become something greater than we are now." She looked at the ships taking shape in the construction bays. "But we also remember. We remember what happened when someone tried to conquer us. We remember that freedom has to be defended. We build these ships not because we want war, but because we want peace. And peace only lasts when you're strong enough to protect it." On the Sovereign, Admiral Kyle Martin recorded a final report for the military archives. "The battle lasted 6 hours. We lost 0 capital ships,